Cruise travelers can make easy targets, with fraudsters and scammers getting more tricky. In fact, cruise lines themselves are warning passengers what to look for so they avoid these traps. This video will help you to stay safe, avoid scams, and cruise smarter. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, distracted cruise travelers, unfortunately, can make easy targets in cruise ports of call. However, even before you get on the cruise or even on the cruise ship itself, sadly, there are some scams that you can fall victim to. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you 15 cruise travel scams that you'll want to watch out for. These are going strong right now, and I am going to include a new one that is actually on YouTube. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. All right, let's start off with some that are a little bit more obvious, a little bit more well-known, and then we're going to move on to some that are more sophisticated and some that cruise lines are warning their passengers about. Number one, the free bracelet scam. Now, this is something that you'll often see in some cruise ports of call. Now, you might see it in the Caribbean, but it's actually much more common when you're in the big cities in Europe. And the idea is somebody will grab your hand pretty quickly and they'll proceed to put a bracelet on it. And they'll let you know this is a friendship bracelet. There is no cost to it, but no. These are not actually free, because once that bracelet is on your hand, the person who put it on will proceed to ask you for money. And oftentimes they are very aggressive and may even have a group of people that will come around. So if anybody wants to take your hand and put a bracelet on it, or even give you any other items, so a flower, a piece of rosemary, these are all very similar scams. Say no thank you and move on very quickly. Number two, the photo scam. Now, this has actually evolved, so it may not be exactly what you think. Now, in the past, and this does still happen, there may be somebody that is dressed up as a character of some sort, and they'll say, come take a photo with me, it's free. But no, it's not really free. They are going to want some form of payment, and they may even give you an indication that it's not enough. So that was kind of the old way, but there is a new way as well. And the new way is that a local may say, let me take your photo, and it's free. You only have to give me your WhatsApp or your email and I will send it to you. And they may even say that there's a charge, for instance, €3 or $3. Well, at that point, after they take several photos, they proceed to send them to you. And then they demand, for instance, $30 or €30 because they say, I have sent you 10 pictures. Now, you may argue and say, I only needed one picture. I didn't ask you to send 10. But then they'll say that I've sent them all to you. And if you don't pay me, well, that is robbery or theft. Now, the best thing to do is simply walk away. But even better is, honestly, don't fall for this type of scam. If you do want somebody else to take your picture, what you can do even with your own phone, don't give it to somebody, by the way, who asked to take your photo. You don't want to unlock your phone for somebody random to take your photo. But if you do know that other people are on your cruise ship, or just other people really look like they're tourists as well, your best bet is probably asking them instead. Number three, the Facebook romance scam. Now, if you've been around any of the various Facebook pages, that would be my page, Lifewell Cruise, but you're going to see this on other Facebook pages as well. And it seems like these scammers, these fraudsters are just lurking on a lot of these cruise Facebook scams. And in my opinion, they are getting a little bit more sophisticated. I'm always blocking them, by the way, and I suggest you do the same, but more just come up again and again. But basically what they do is they'll say something like, when is your next cruise? And you look so lovely. Could we be friends? And truthfully, I have seen even back and forth conversations. So they're waiting until 2 or 3 messages in to say, why don't we become friends? Truthfully, any strangers on Facebook like that, and if you look, you'll see typically there is a pattern. The person is widowed or single. And by the way, while this is mostly male Facebook profiles, I have seen women as well, so everybody watch out. Number 4, the bait and switch. And this can happen at many of the different cruise ports of call. So you really do want to watch for this, especially if you are making a little bit more of an expensive purchase. Now, this actually happened to me years ago. I was in the port of Kusadasi in Turkey. I bought a handbag that wasn't super expensive, but definitely wasn't very, very cheap. And what happened was after I made the purchase, we were chatting, and honestly, I was a little bit distracted by the friendliness of the business owner. And then somebody else did package up my handbag. When I got back to the cruise ship, I discovered that it wasn't actually the handbag that I purchased. It was a cheaper bag put in there instead. But this can happen if you're buying jewelry in a cruise port of call or any other items that might be a little bit more expensive. So definitely watch out and keep your eyes on that item. Number 5, the fake visa websites. Now, these are not necessarily visas, but this is something that we are seeing right now as travel requirements are changing. So if you are doing a cruise or you are traveling to the UK, then you do have a new travel requirement, and this is the ETA. What we are seeing right now, and we're seeing this in cruise Facebook groups where people are reporting being swindled out of hundreds of dollars because they clicked on a fake website. So it's really important, if you're getting a visa, if you're getting any type of documentation, that you go to the government's official website. Unfortunately, what scammers and fraudsters are starting to do is set up fake websites, and they're using Google to run ads. You'll see that it will say oftentimes sponsored. That is actually just an ad. So what they're doing is they're setting this up, and people unwittingly go to that website thinking that it is official because it will look official, but it is not. So make sure it is the official website of the government. The cruise duck scam. Now, to be fair, there's more than one scam running on social media in cruise Facebook groups. And this was something that was happening a lot last year, but it is still continuing now. And if you're new to cruising, you want to make sure that you are aware. So in some of the cruise Facebook groups, you are going to see that some people are trying to supposedly resell some items because they can no longer go on the cruise. And one of those items is cruise ducks. The reason is because some people do go on cruises, and there's a little bit of a game called hiding cruise ducks. I have a video all about that. If you do want to check it out, you'll find it in my playlist. But in any case, what some people will do is they'll say, I can no longer go on the cruise. I'm willing to give away my ducks for free. All I ask is that you pay for the shipping. And then what happens is you private message that person. They ask you for a shipping fee, which is a little bit higher than what you'd expect. And when you do send that money through a cash app of some sort, well, that money is gone. Now, beyond the ducks, there are other scams that are running. So one of the others is a craft or a painting group that is supposed to happen on the cruise. And honestly, if the cruise line is not running it, there's a good chance that this is a scam. If somebody really does want to offer a class on the cruise ship, they shouldn't be asking for money in advance. And even then, be very vigilant, because even though you're on a Facebook group and people are supposedly going to be on your cruise ship, you don't know if that's true, and you also don't even know who they are. Now, by the way, if you have seen this type of scam continue to go on in cruise Facebook groups, and if you have any other examples, please do let me know down in the comments, because I know it will be helpful to other people as well. Now, I am going to get back to the fake websites and also that cruise line warning in just a minute, but I do want to go through a couple of the common ones that people should still be aware of. So another one is the I am your waiter or I am cruise scam. Now, this happens when you're in oftentimes one of the Caribbean ports, that you might be in that Caribbean port or that Mexico port, and somebody there will say, hi, do you recognize me? I was your waiter, or I was your cabin attendant. And sometimes cruise passengers might feel a little bit bad or a little bit embarrassed to not remember them. And they'll say, sure, of course. Well, what will happen next is that person will say, why don't you come into the restaurant or into my family's store? They own it. That would be very helpful. And maybe you'll feel really like you want to be nice and helpful, and they're so welcoming, and you'll go in. Now, just beware this is likely a scam. Chances are that person was not your waiter, and this has been common for the last couple of years. The unmetered taxi scam, now I hate to say it, but I have actually been a little bit of a victim of this, and it wasn't even in the Caribbean, by the way, it was in Miami. So you've got to watch for the unmetered taxis or the fake Ubers in a lot of different cities. So as an example, when you get out of the airport at many different places, so in the big cities in Europe as well, you might have somebody who will come up to you and say, do you need a taxi? Or maybe they have a sign that says taxi. Those are usually not the legitimate taxis. So you want to go over to the taxi line, or you want to actually use the Uber app to find your driver. So you don't want to just pick somebody who has their phone and it says Uber. Yes, we have actually seen that at the cruise port in Brooklyn. These are not legitimate taxis or Ubers, and it is something you want to watch out for. The cruise miles scam. Now, to be fair, I don't think that this is going to be happening anymore, as this person has now been found guilty. But there was a Ponzi scheme that was running, and it took advantage of people in the US, in Canada, in the UK, in Australia, in New Zealand, in other countries. Now, this is actually quite a recent story where fraudster Richard Lester conned 184 people into purchasing fake cruise miles. And the idea was that people would purchase fake cruise miles and they would be able to take cruises at highly discounted rates. And you guessed it, there were no discounted cruises, so nobody got any holidays out of it, but he did swindle hundreds of people out of their money. And there's a lesson in this. If it seems too good to be true, or it's not a legitimate travel agency or cruise line website, do not give any of your money over. Okay, so speaking of fake websites, this is, I think, probably the sneakiest, the trickiest of all, and really one of the most concerning that I have seen. And I am going to give you a few examples just so that you're aware, because I think oftentimes when we're in the process of booking a cruise, or maybe our cruise is coming up soon, we can get a little bit anxious and we can be in our own way a little bit unguarded in those moments, and we can be susceptible to this kind of fraud or scam. Now, as I was researching this video, I did come across several stories of people who had been conned in some way by these fake cruise line websites. And again, this is not the cruise line's fault at all. This is something that you'll see on Google, so definitely watch this. But what has happened is some people have been the target of docking fees. Now, these are not real fees, by the way, but the idea is that somebody, as the cruise is coming closer, they decide to Google the phone number for their cruise line because they do have a question. And what happens is when they call that cruise line, they are told by the customer service rep that there is an outstanding charge still left on their cruise. And if they don't pay it, then their cruise is going to be canceled or they will not be allowed to board. And in several cases, they are told that there is a docking fee. Now, the docking fee has been as much as almost $600 for a couple, and people in frustration have actually given their credit card number over the phone and paid this. Now, another one that I've never heard before, but you definitely want to watch out for, is the embarkation day time change fee. Now, if you've cruised before, you know that there is no fee for your embarkation day time, or even if you arrive a little bit later that day. However, what happened to Jen from the channel Gen X? I am going to leave her video all about this situation linked down below in the description of the video because it is worth a watch. But she did share the situation that happened to her, and basically she ran into a snag on embarkation day. And so what she decided to do, like a lot of responsible cruise travelers, is call the cruise line to let them know. And then what happened then is the representative told her that there would be a charge of $150 per person to change her embarkation time. Now, of course, this was not true at all, but Jen, in those moments of just wanting to make sure that she could board her cruise, proceeded, she shares, to give her name and some other personal information until when she was asked for her credit card and alarm bells did go off. The room key scam, or I think that we'd probably have to call it the room key theft. This, I think, is very, very rare, but it is just something to watch for. When you do get onto a cruise ship on boarding day, your key cards most of the time are going to be left right outside your door in a little envelope. And truthfully, I've never had a situation where they were not there, but I did hear of one person that when she got to her cabin, her card was not there. Now, she proceeded to guest services to find out about where her cruise card was, and she found out that in that short time that people were boarding, that somebody had actually used her cruise card to buy drinks and other items. Now, again, this is very rare, but it is just something to note, to always take a look at what is being charged to your cruise card. You can usually see this on your cruise line app, or you could see it on your cruise stateroom TV. And you can also ask at guest services to have a printout of your invoice. The cruise resale, or the heavily discounted cruise scam. Now, Virgin Voyages actually recently sent out a mass email letting people know to be very vigilant against scammers and fraudsters that do seem to be targeting cruise travelers. And of course, we are seeing this on social media. And this is one of the things that they have warned about. If somebody is trying to resell their cruise, that is not something that people are actually allowed to do. So definitely don't purchase a cruise off of a stranger over the internet. But even fake travel agents or travel agencies that are saying that they do not accept credit card payment, that instead they only accept payment by cash apps, that is something to be aware of and to not get caught in. Now, while this is worrying, there are definitely ways to stay safe and to not get caught up in any of these scams. So one of the ways is to actually purchase your cruise either directly through the cruise line on their website or through reputable travel agencies and travel agency websites. And if you do find a travel agent through social media, make sure that you're vetting them carefully, look for reviews, and of course, as much as possible, try and use a credit card to protect yourself. And the other thing you can do, by the way, is also make sure that you do have a booking number. And then with your booking number for the cruise line, you can check on the cruise line website to make sure that your booking number is valid. Because unfortunately, what has happened to some people is that they have fallen victim to these kinds of schemes, and they've actually arrived at their cruise port and unfortunately were not able to board because they actually had a fake booking. Now, I have one more cruise port of call scam, and then I'm going to share with you the latest scam that I'm actually seeing on YouTube. The fake resort pass tickets. Now, many cruisers are actually sharing that when they're in Costa Maya, and this could happen elsewhere as well, but this seems to be pretty recent, is what is happening is they are taking a taxi over to a local beach. And in the taxi, their taxi driver has shared with them that they could get tickets to an all-inclusive resort, and the taxi driver could give it to them at a discount. They proceed to pay the taxi driver only to find out when they get to that restaurant that those tickets were not valid and the taxi drivers are selling something that is absolutely not useful. And this is a good lesson, even for anywhere, is when you are buying tickets to a resort or even to a museum, is don't buy them from third parties, where you're just passing cash back and forth. Go to a legitimate website or the place itself. The fake or AI generated YouTube video scam. Now, this is something that actually does bother me, not only because I am on YouTube and I love YouTube, but because oftentimes not only is that content AI generated and plagiarized most of the time, including sometimes the thumbnails as well, and it really does trick people into thinking that this is maybe a video from one of their favorite content creators when it's not. But a lot of times there is actually inaccurate information that is being shared as well. Now, you may have seen recently some information about new travel rules coming out about the size of carry-ons. I got so many emails about that. And these were actually fake AI generated and clickbaity YouTube videos that were sharing information that was not actually true. Which does bring me back to something that I often say, which is even if you get information from me or any other YouTube channel or any content creator, always verify that information for yourself on your own cruise line or travel website. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know if you've seen any of these cruise travel scams, or if you've even been a victim. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.